Welcome to the Immerse podcast. We are your hosts, Alex O'Keefe and Dan Ramsden.
We aim to immerse you in education via our guests, bring communities together, embrace positive change and help create solid habits that yield the path for our health and longevity.
Right, here we go.
The closer you can get to the natural way that we should live, the longer you seem to live, or the better quality of life you seem to have. Been watching Black Mirror recently, and have you seen it?
Thought-provoking stuff.
It's been blowing my mind, like properly. I've been watching these episodes and my mind's been getting blown because it's what's happening in the world.
What is it?
It'll probably take the normal things you go through in day-to-day life, technology being one of them, social media being one of them, and it'll take it to the extreme. And so from the start of the programme, and these programmes are totally different, covering different subjects, but it's a series played by actors, and you start off and they'll introduce, let's say on this, a new bit of technology, and the first bit you're like, wow, how good's this? Imagine if we could, but then it takes it to the extreme where at the end of it you're like, Jesus Christ, that's gonna be bad.
They've spoiled it.
And it's what's going on in the world. You know, you take something that we have now, a bit of technology, social media or whatever at the outset, and if it's used in the right way, it's brilliant, but then you take it to the extreme where people are just finding faster ways to do it, better ways to do it, more people, it reaches more people, keeps going and evolving like they do in these episodes, and by the end of it you're like, it's created
a monster.
It created a monster.
Yeah.
The last one I watched, this woman had she blacked out, had a bit of a stroke, she was in a coma for ages, and then the doctors come round and says she's gonna be a vegetable, like she can't live or all like this. We're not up with her physically, just her brain had been fried in the coma. So she come out and they were like, but there is this new technology, it's not been used yet, and you can put a chip inside a brain and it's ran by your phone, and then you can pay a subscription of only £300 a month and she will be able to use her brain again. It's like an artificial brain, but it will be her thoughts, all this lot, it'll be. And he was like, 300 quid this family had hardly any money, like 300 quid a month to keep my missus alive. Of course I'm going to do it. So I did it, perfect. First month, and I was like, wow, how good's this? First month, brilliant. And then the software upgraded. So then what she were doing, she were at school, and all of a sudden she'd spit out like an advertisement. So she'd go, and then whatever you're going through, if it were, I don't know, erectile dysfunction or whatever, she'd just go, erectile dysfunction, you should... And people were saying, whoa, because she didn't know she had this in. And then her husband went back to the thing, like, what's going on here? She just keeps spitting facts out. Like, oh yeah, the subscription's upgraded. That's the one with the adverts in. We've got a new subscription. It's 700 quid a month, but no adverts.
Shit.
And then it's 700 quid a month. Then she's going through that.
Yeah.
And then it's like, she went on all, she tried to go on to camping or whatever. She drove and she just like, and they were like, whoa, what's going on? As he spun the car around to go back to the hospital, she come back alive, like, no, what happened? And they were like, what just happened there? You died on me. And she was like, what? She didn't have a clue what had gone on. Went back to, oh yeah, now that subscription, it only covers this area. So when you leave this area, she will shut down. So you need to pay another subscription to get her to go to cover all the world. And I was like, this is what's happening now in real time. It's just keeping getting more expensive. Subscribing more and more. Then to the point where they had zero money. He were then selling videos and stuff online to pay for her to live, and all his work, found out he was doing these horrible videos, sacked him. Then he was selling his teeth online and then it got to a point where he could only, like the top subscription, he could only pay for it 30 minutes a day. So then she'd be herself for 30 minutes a day, and then she'd sleep for the rest of the day.
Oh God.
And it was very, after I'd watched that, my mind was like,
You can't mess with Mother Nature then, really.
Yeah, and they got to where they should have got to. She's had an unfortunate accident, and she should have gone then, type of thing. Do you know what I mean? The life got absolutely ruined. What they thought we were doing better, and it's a very similar thing to social media in what we think, how good's this at the start, and as phones get upgraded and we can do more things, and then all of a sudden we're glued to it. We can't pick his head up from it, can we? So there is a fine balance.
Yeah, there is. That's just makes you think, doesn't it?
We have hit record, by the way, and we are going to we're going to use that.
Right.
So, welcome to the podcast, Kruise Leeming.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Welcome.
That was some intro.
I know.
That was some intro. No, but it's so true, isn't it? It's so true. We're ruining ourselves, aren't we?
In some way, shape or form, I think there is. We do need to use what we've got and be happy with what we've got sometimes as well. And if we do create something that's brilliant for the public or for us to use it for what it's meant to be used for, and then stop it there and get on with our lives. Almost it's the nature of the beast, isn't it? We want to be better and faster and stronger and more important and reach more people. And at the outset, it starts off great, but I think you do need to revert back to as baseline of, like we say, have a chat to people and enjoy each other's company and what troubles you're going through. Be transparent in what you're talking about in terms of how you're getting on with your life, and just do it normally. Sometimes doing the things normally is better than try to do things in a different way that everyone's trying to find that way that we've never seen before, or do some of this. Sometimes if it's not broke, don't fix it.
We don't have to reinvent the wheel, do we? Basically. No, exactly. I'm glad we've started there, mate, because how I was going to intro this was, welcome, Kruise Leeming, everyone. People know you as, it's quite easy to come in and announce you as this professional rugby player, top of the game, serial trophy, title winner, played in the NRL, all the fancy stuff, and you are the perfect pro in a lot of people's eyes, in my eyes as well, mate. Just want to say that. But that's only one part of the human that you are, and myself and Dan very lucky to have got to know you on a deeper level recently, mate. And I want this conversation today to be about not just the rugby player, you as a human being, mate, because we've spoke about this quite a bit previously, but attaching ourselves to these sort of titles that we have and putting ourselves in a box, and just wanted to get in, unleash the box today, mate, basically.
What a brilliant way to start, and thanks for what you said there. Really humbling words, and to come from somebody like you, I really appreciate the both of you. But that's what gets me alive, speaking about this type of stuff instead of speaking, the rugby's great. I love playing rugby. It's something that I've done all my life, but it's, like you say, it's a thing that I do. It's not who I am as a person. And what I like to think about in terms of who I am as a person, I'm constantly trying to get back to. I did a talk for a company the other day, and they wanted to speak about blueprints and cultures and why we've been successful at Wigan and why we've done certain things, which is brilliant. It's given me the most success that I've had. It's given me my house. It's given me opportunities for me, my family. Forever grateful for rugby league. But I know that some people, it were a room full of 100 people, and my thought going to that talk was, how do I resonate with Sandra in accounts that has nothing to do, knows nothing about rugby, can play my highlights till I'm blue in face, and she don't care about what I've done within rugby league. How do I get her to leave that talk thinking, God, that's touched something in me that I thought were gone, or that's provoked some thoughts in my mind that's got me thinking I'm going to do things differently. And the way I started is I got everyone to stand up, and I got in rugby, in teams, whatever you'll do, a 3-2-1 Wigan, or you'll scream at top of your voice to get you ready for battle, get that vulnerability out, get yourself open up, surrender. My thing coming into a game is ultimate preparation, ultimate surrender. So what I mean by that is I'll be completely prepared throughout the week is I'll knock off everything I need to do, my passing, my kicking, my fitness, my diet, everything's ready. And when I was younger, what I used to do then getting to game day is I'd try and control the outcome of the game. And what I mean by ultimate surrender is this: playing in grand finals, there's 60,000 people out there watching, not one of them can tell you what's going to happen in that game. And I used to beat myself up for, I should know at this minute I should be doing this, and I've watched their defence and they do this, and it used to tangle me up, and I wasn't free. I wasn't out there playing. I were thinking about outcomes, and I wasn't in the moment. Everybody's trying to get into that flow moment in life, in sport, where they can just roll with everything and everything's just happening. They're not thinking too much. And my thing now is ultimate preparation, ultimate surrender. So when I get there to game day, I've done everything I can. I just surrender to what's going to happen out there. I go out there and I play, and nobody can tell me what's going to happen. I might go out there and kill it. The defence might open up and I might go through. I might score a couple of tries. I might kick 40-20s. I might get man at match. I might make a load of good tackles, or I might not. The defence might not open up. They might not do what we thought we saw on video, and what we've analysed day to day, and what we've practiced for all week. They might have come with a different game plan because they lost the week before. We don't know. Nobody knows what's going to happen in the future, and it's almost like surrendering to that and letting go of that control and thinking, I'm in this. I'm going to dive in this, and it's almost like the way I see it is once you've got, in rugby terms, when you've got the ball in your hand, you see people that have been completely coached to the point where they're scared to run the ball anymore. Thing with boxers sometimes that have come through, they've just come through and they've been knocking everyone's head off, and then you see they go to a different camp and they get taught, I'm going to throw this jab and this, and then what their superpower was of just going out there knocking somebody's head off's gone. Like they've coached themselves out of it. They're in freeze.
Like the human instinct.
The instinct. Yeah. And that comes when you've got no control. You don't know what's going to happen. And we try and hold on to that control and try and, by minute, with us lives, with rugby, we try and what's going to happen tomorrow, and what I'm going to do today is going to affect what's going to happen tomorrow. Instead of just living now, what's going on right now. And when I get in that changing room, I look at my boots, I look at my kit. I enjoy having my name on the back of my kit. I look at the photos. I speak to the lads. I try and be present in the conversations that we're having. It starts off as very jovial, what they've done that day, and then it starts to hone into what we're doing in the game, and then it starts to get even deeper to the point where we're like, right, this is going to be a war, this is going to be a battle. You've got to take your head to that place. And I'm just involved in them conversations there and then. And then you take it back to if we're travelling away games, I'm having something to eat, and people are like, oh, what are you thinking of the game today? I'm like, I'm eating this pasta right now, and I'm going to enjoy this pasta, and then I'm going to get on the bus. I'm not going to be late for the bus. Then I'm going to enjoy playing a bit of cards on the bus on the way to the game. And then I'm starting to hone in on the game, and I'm not trying to control what's going to happen. And I think that's why superstitions for me a little bit it's an element of
try to have control. Like if I put that shoe on this way, then that means that nobody knows. No one in this world knows what's going to happen in the next minute. No one knows.
So many variables.
There's so many variables.
That's a lesson in life, not just a sport, isn't it? Really, whatever it is that you're doing. And I guess the message that I'm picking up from there is just to be present at all times.
Yeah, it is.
Not to be consumed in your own thoughts.
I think I struggled with that because I used to hear that and not really know what it means. But what it means for me is just trying to be surrender to what's going to happen. There's a path there. I've done everything. It's almost like, and then because I used to hear people speak like this, and I used to think, well, does that mean if I'm going to ultimately surrender on game day, does that mean I can do what I want then through the week because it's already, nobody knows what's going to happen, just let it happen? The way I like to look at it is we're in this ocean and I'm going to get really good at surfing waves. That's what I'm going to get good at. I'm going to get good at surfing. I'm going to get to a point where I'm really good at the high waves, the low waves, but I'm not going to try and control the ocean. If I get a big wave, I'm going to trust that I've done enough in the week to be able to attack that wave the way it is through my training. And I'm not just going to lay there on my board and just go, well, you know, whatever happens, and hopefully the ocean doesn't throw a load of big waves at me today. I hope it's just calm out there. That, I think, is a bit of a cop-out of, well, I'll just surrender and let whatever's going to happen is going to happen. I'm not saying that. I'm saying just don't try and get out of the ocean and remove the ocean. Stay in it, stay within it, but just get good at riding waves. And that's my ultimate preparation coming up to game day. And then when the game day comes, that's me being in the sea going, I'm happy for whatever weather comes here. I'm happy because I'm confident in my preparation, but I'm not trying to control looking at the horizon thinking, oh, what wave's coming, and well, is it the big wave? I'm just laid there enjoying the sea and the ocean. Do you know what I mean?
Knowing you've done the work,
knowing I've
and
done
you're
the
ready
work.
for anything.
Yeah.
Have you heard of it's actually the philosophy that Bruce Lee lives by? What you're explaining there is exactly how he talks about, you know, flowing like water and surrendering to this. There's like the guy who Bruce Lee learned off, his like philosophy is like the samurai swordsman, and he talks about surrendering to the sword. So like when you're in battle with the other person, something else is in charge. Then you're not in control, but you react to an attack without knowing. You punch without knowing, but something else takes charge, type of thing. That's what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah, it's freeing. It's very freeing. And to go back, I know we've gone around there, but to go back to your initial question of you know, how I'm living my life and what's deeper to me as a person, and I opened up by saying, so I went to that talk, and what makes me resonate with Lysandra in accounts or whatever when she's not that bothered about rugby is I got them to scream at the start, and I got them all up on the feet, and I says, right, what I want you to do is the war cry or game cry or whatever.
Do it to me and Dan now.
Yeah, let's do it.
Go on. Tell us what you want to do.
So right, so what I'm going to do, and then we'll speak about it after. Yeah. We'll shout at the top of his voice. We'll shout Immerse podcast.
Okay.
Right? Because that's where we're at. So we'll do that. I want you to stand up and I want you to do it, and then we'll speak about the why of why I made you do that and why I made them do that at the start. So let's stand up.
Okay. Maybe for the listeners' purposes, we might put the mics down for this one. It might be a bit too loud.
It might be a bit too harsh for you. Wind your windows down if you're in car.
Oh, we're all screaming.
Okay. Right, so and this needs to be at the top of your voice, not in between. It needs to be at the top of your voice, right? So on 3, I want 1, 2, 3 Immerse podcast, right?
Both of us.
Both of you, yeah.
As loud as we can.
As loud as you can.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Immerse podcast! Woo!
Yes. Yes.
Sorry, Ryan. Sorry, guys. Sorry, everybody.
So what that did for me and what that did for the people is that inner child that we've all got, that I believe that what I'm trying to get back to and search for is, if you ask your children to do that, they do it like that without even thinking about it.
Mine won't now.
No.
And past that.
Yeah.
School has taught them differently, and other people taking mick out of them, so they're in a different headspace now, and that's what I'm trying to encourage out of them again, and bringing them back to what they used to be, but that's again being vulnerable.
I'm so glad you've said that, because this is what I was trying. When I say I want to resonate with everybody in the room and I want them to feel something that they can take out of that night. It's not, and we talk about blueprints, we talk about success, we talk about this. It was that feeling of, as we go through life, 6-year-old, 5, you know, when you cry, they're uncontrollably crying. They're in Tesco's, they're you know, throwing paddies on the floor, and then when they're laughing. When they're screaming and talking like that, they're screaming. They can do it all day long. Then they get to an age where society starts to say, no, you don't cry like that, or you don't feel that type of way, you don't laugh like that. And then you get a bit older where you're actually feeling like crying inside, but you've actually got this mask on that you're laughing on the outside. That's how far it gets, to the point where you're not in tune with who you are, and you're not in tune with your own body type thing. So, and then nothing good ever comes from there. Any successful person, or, you know, you look at, I've seen a clip of Ronaldo, and there's a coach telling him how he wants him to be, and they go back to that control thing of they want to take control of him so they know what he's going to do at what minute, and he just goes like, the camera's on him and he's like in one ear, out the other, and it's that healthy disrespect of, I'm gonna do what I want to do, in terms of, I'm gonna be that inner child that when I first started playing football, when I wanted to run around and kick a ball, that's when I were at my best. That's why I got picked up for doing that, and I was living open, like vulnerable, of things are gonna go right, things are gonna go wrong. There were no control there. I was just out on the field, I was running about, and you feel fitter. You get to a point where kids can run around all day. There's not, oh, well, I've run 5K, and after 5K people start to break down, and people have told me that after 5K I need to chill out because you're going to get too tired, or after I've made that many tackles, chill. Kids are not thinking that. They're just free. They're just running. They'll stop when the body tells them to stop, or they can't run anymore. And there's that ultimate freeness, and I wanted them all to feel that. I wanted you to feel if somebody tells you to scream, you're only screaming, but the first thing is like, well, is he going to scream as loud as me? Or if I scream louder than that table over there, are they going to then say, as if you were screaming? And society starts to make us stop feeling things and you need to be raw. And I'm trying to get back there with everything I'm doing, and any people I'm surrounded, you can't do it all the time. But what I've learned is when you dive into it and you break through that, it's giving up control. You get into that space where you think, wow, I feel free. I feel like I'm being myself. You know, your mind can lie to you. Your mind can say, oh, yeah, you're fine, don't smile, but your body never lies. You get sweaty palms when you're nervous, and your body never lies. I can turn around to you and say, how are you feeling today? You go, yeah, I'm good, mate, I'm good. But your body, I can tell by looking at your body, you might have sweaty, and then once you get that, your brain and your body in tune and be open enough to say it as well. Like, I'm feeling a bit anxious today, me, Dan. Why? Well, I've got this podcast. I want it to go well. I want people to... And then your body's like, oh, right, is that what I'm feeling? I can feel... Right, that's fair enough. But when you start lying and people say, why are you laughing? Why are you laughing like that? Or why are you screaming that loud? Well, because my body, I wanted to do it. I wanted to scream. Top of my lungs, I wanted to scream. And no, you shouldn't do that. Stay quiet. No. Your kids, they're screaming, they're crying, and obviously there's a element of control, and you need to pick your scenarios. But getting back to that inner child, getting back to what made me, ask the big questions. That's what children do, don't they? They start off. It's fascinating being around. They ask the big questions. Why am I here, Dad? Why do we live? Why? As we get older, we stop asking them big questions.
Yeah. We don't want to look silly.
We don't want to look silly. We don't want to know the answer. We think that we're past it. We think we shouldn't ask them questions anymore. They're the actual questions.
Yeah.
What's love? Yeah. What? And you say, I love you. And they go, how do you know? How do you know? And, and they ask the big questions. And as we get older, stop asking them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you love me? They'll go out to a stranger. Do you love me? And they're like, what are you asking me that for? But we're spending time with people every day. Never ask them that question. Do you love me?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's the big questions stop coming. And I think the closer you can get to that, feel alive, you feel more, you feel like you're serving a purpose. You're here for something. You're here, you're living for something.
Yeah.
I didn't want to make this conversation too heavy on rugby. However, that sort of mindset, is that transitioning out throughout your camp, and is that the reason why you're as successful as you are, because you're all free but well prepared?
I think it is something that Matty Pete does really well, and he's provoked some questions in my mind. We did a thing at the Challenge Cup, and Willie, who's just retired, he got all the flags from everyone's different heritage, and we got into a meeting as you normally would, and all these flags were on floor. Swazi flag, where I come from, the English flag, Lebanon, Bulgaria. There were loads of different where people have been born, were like, oh, what's going on? And he spoke about people's backgrounds and not being ashamed or not apologising from where you come from, or, you know, we've all been, somebody asks you a question of, oh, where are you from? And I go, oh, Swaziland, because it's not normal. It's, you know, it's not what everybody else, not where everybody else is from. And no, I'm from Swaziland. I was born there. Do you know what I mean? That's where I was born. That's where my mum was born. And being proud, and we spoke a lot about that before the challenge come. And it was such a powerful thing of everyone's got these different, and just embracing it and being free in it, and knowing that you're from England, I'm from Swaziland, and the way you see the world is because you've been brought up in England, and the way you think, oh, why'd you do that? Or some things you see that might be weird that I do is because, and you know, then I'm from Swaziland, you learn about my background and learn about where I come from, and you think, I know why he sees the world in this way, and I know why you see the world in that way, and then we're connected. We've got that connection there then. And then when you go on a rugby field, for me to make a tackle for you, it's no problem. I'll make them all day. Even if it's not what I think you do in work, is like you want to look after your own patch, because there is no connection there. It looks like you're connected because you're all on a field together, but if you do something wrong, it's like you messed up, not me. But the team we're connected, and I want to make that tackle for him and his family and where he's come from, because I know I've seen where he is, his mom, his dad, the way he's been brought up, his views on life. I'm connected to him. I am him. So if he makes that error, I feel like I've let him down. It's not about, you know, you've let the try in there, so it's your fault. It's like, could I have done out better to make that tackle for you there? And if you're all doing that and know where each other comes from and you're connected, it's a very powerful thing, that, and that's probably what started me thinking about this path and where people are from, and like you say, the preparation and how connected I am. Why, you know, and that when you surrender to somebody else's life and you're helping them, it's a bigger driving force than for yourself. When you're tired and I can't be bothered to run anymore, and you can't bother to get out of bed, that's why when people have kids, it's like they change, because you're doing it for somebody else. It's so more powerful doing it for somebody else. I'm then running around on that rugby field for you and your family, and I don't want to let your dad down in stands, and I don't want to let your mum down, and your sisters that have paid to come and watch you play. It's bigger driving force then for me. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, right, I can't let him down then. And then that, if it had just been myself and nobody else watching, I'd have probably gone, I'm knackered, I'm going to stop now. But because I've got that connection to him and his family and where he's from, and I understand what it means to him, and if he's got that to me, it's like unbreakable. It's a powerful thing. That's why families are so close and they're unbreakable, because they know each other inside out, and they're not, if something happens to the partner or the child, it genuinely hurts them inside. Like you feel that hurt inside. It's because you're so connected.
Emotional beings. So you're not just looking at statistics and data. It's a much deeper connecting thing, because that's ultimately when somebody's getting into something, you start looking into the little intricacies, don't you? You know, like for example, if you want to lose body fat, you start looking into your macronutrients and your calories, and you start looking into how many steps you're doing a day and how many training sessions you're doing. You start getting some feedback and some data. But this is a completely different animal, isn't it? And this is like, you will run your blood to water for each other. And that's the power. Because that's the why, innit?
100%. And it's all about your why, innit? And your why will change throughout your life. My why has definitely changed. And it is the reason why we do things. It makes us do it and get out of bed, doesn't it? So the stronger your why is, and for whatever that why is as strong as it needs to be, the stronger it is, the more success you're going to have, and the bigger you're going to push yourself.
And I'm going to surrender to this conversation now. I'm just going to take it where my mind's taking it now, Kruise. So when me and you met up a couple of weeks ago for a coffee, straight into deep stuff, as we do. I love that about you, by the way. There's you, probably a handful of others that I can do that with, and I really appreciate that type of connection, where it's not just, you know, when we're younger, obviously, how many birds you been shagging? You know, it's not that anymore. That's an evolution that we've gone through.
Yeah.
And it's more about big world thinking and questioning the norm and all this type of stuff. And you were very open to me about exploring something bigger than yourself in the form of faith. And you've been visiting a pastor at Wigan, is that right? And you were telling me about the analogy of the trees. But that's kind of what you were just saying in that last part there about the judging and from different backgrounds, what your coach at Wigan has said. Do you want to just talk us through that, mate?
Yeah, it's brilliant because I believe where I'm at now in my life, this might change. This has definitely changed from what I thought the meaning of life was when I was 20, 21, 22 of me. What can I get out of it? What can, this conversation, what am I going to get? It's changed to how can I serve others in a way that helps their life? And that makes me feel good now. And I think surrendering or serving as something that is more important than you, I think leads to ultimate happiness in the long run. And that might be your missus, you might want to make her happy. And I think relationships that if you've got a man and a woman and the man wants to serve the woman and make her happy and the woman wants to serve the man and make him happy, I think ultimately will lead to a better relationship than just thinking of yourself. I think every time in your mind you've got yourself and your own feelings and the way you feel is direct correlated to maybe anxiety or getting nervous about something. It's like walking into a room and you think, oh, well, I've got a new pair of trainers on, or what they're going to say about this and what they're going to... It's like, no, stop thinking about yourself. It's how, I want everybody in the room to have a good time. And how's he doing today? How's his family? Oh, his kid was sick. Can I go speak to him and see if his kid's all right? And that anxiety of what people are going to say about me, what are people going to say about me? They're talking about me, they're laughing at me. It's gone. You're there to serve others. And I think in every walk of life, if the power is higher than you to serve and it's going to keep you disciplined and keep you in a state of doing things for others, it's going to lead to happiness. And that's what made me explore faith, because when I lost my dad at 8 years old, my mum's a Christian. She was heavy into it, and I used to go to church with her all the time. And then one day my dad had passed away through cancer, and I just turned around. She said she had no words for me. She probably wasn't as educated on it as she wanted to be back then. And I said, God's not real. And Mum said, why is that? And I said, well, if he's meant to be good and do good for the world, he's just took my dad away. My dad's never done aught wrong. So I don't believe in him no more. And she said she had no to say back to me. She was a bit like, and then I just completely turned away from faith. And it wasn't until it's strange, because they say when the ears are ready to listen, come forward the lips that are ready to speak. And I wasn't ready to listen to anything to do with faith or a higher power. And I'm still wrestling with it now. I'm more into it and I'm educating myself on it. It's like anything. I think if you've got an opinion on something, you're not educated on it, it's not a good way to live. I think it's a stupid way to live. You're
just rehearsing words, aren't you?
Yeah, that other people have said, or I want to find out for myself. And I might come to you in 2-3 months' time and go, I don't know. But at the minute, I'm reading the Bible. I'm into it. I'm enjoying what I'm seeing. I'm going to church. It's making me feel better, and it's helping the people around me because of the person that I'm trying to be. And so the way... I see it almost as like somebody's podcast that I'd listen to, or somebody's book that I'd want to read because they've had a successful life, or that they're in good shape, and the dietitian that's brought a book out. I see it as a guy that's brought this book out that's the Bible, that's lived this life, and he says, if you live this way, you will live a better quality of life. And I'm thinking, I'm stupid to not read that. I'd be stupid to not listen to the podcast. I'd be stupid to not go and, if you had a documentary out, just listen to it, even if I agree with it or I don't agree with it. And that's where I'm at with it. And what it's helped me do is, they say in the Bible, you should ask for forgiveness, and everyone needs forgiveness for something. And once you ask for that forgiveness and you almost feel like you get that forgiveness, you should then be in a state of mind that if you're willing to go and ask somebody for forgiveness and you know how good that's made you feel when you feel forgiven, like you've confessed all your sins and said, I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have done that. The Bible says no matter what, God will forgive you, Jesus will forgive you for your sins. How are you to then go and hold grudges against somebody else and not forgive other people for the sins they've committed to you or the sins that they've done in their life? How can you go and ask for forgiveness when you can't even give it to the people that are close to you? This guy is looking down on everyone. He's giving forgiveness to everyone, as the Bible says, and you can't even give it to somebody that you know that's next to you. And then when you're in that of forgiving people and letting people do them, you know, it's not bad. Like, just because they've upset you because you're thinking about yourself and you're so self-centered, just forgive them, let them be who they are. It frees you. You're not holding on to that. Oh, well, I'm not speaking to you. It's like, it's fine, you know. He might have done something wrong to you, but it's like they'll come round eventually. Or he might not have done something wrong to you. And we go back to the flag analogy and where you come from and your upbringing. He might just do it that way because that's all he's been taught. Or I might. There's nobody wrong or right. There's nobody coming down and going, Kruise, you were right in that one and you were wrong. The only thing that I know is you lose friendships or you end up not speaking to anybody. If you didn't speak to everybody that wound you up or made you annoyed, you'd be secluded and on your own. And I don't want to be like that. And you go back to the analogy about the trees and the forest. I saw it and I thought, that's brilliant, and that's where I'm at in my life at the minute. Of when you go through a forest, you see all these different types of trees. You see tall trees, trees that are really brown, trees that are small, trees that have got loads of leaves, trees that haven't got a lot of leaves, trees that have had loads of sun, so they're big and thick, and then the trees that haven't had enough sun because they're getting blocked out by the light and the thin. You walk through the forest and you just take in the scenery. You just look at it and you think, wow, that's nice. You don't go up to the trees and go, oh, that's horrible, that you haven't had enough sun, or that haven't got enough, and stay there and waste your time pointing. You just take in the scenery. And I think, why don't we do that with people? Why do we have to, you see the world this way, so I'm going to sit here, I'm going to tell you that you're wrong to see it in this way and you should see it this way. It might be because of the way you've been planted, or you're seeing it from a certain height that's up there because you've had so much more sun than me and I'm down here, so I can only see this bit. You can see it from up there. You're like, no, I don't want to take that path because there's thorns on that path. I'm like, no, it's not. I can't see it, and we're arguing over it. It's like, just taking the scenery. If you want to do that and train that way and eat that stuff, and it's your life. I'm not gonna beat myself up and try and change who people are, but I'm just going to take in the scenery. And if everybody saw the world the way I saw it and did everything I wanted everyone to do, how boring would that be? I'd just be running around with everybody like me, and I'd hate that. It's like walking through a forest, isn't it, and just seeing the exact same thing. It wouldn't be a nice walk then. It wouldn't be enjoyable. And I think it's definitely helped me because I were early on in my life. Still now, I'm not perfect by any means, but very judgmental, very I'm right, you're wrong. And now I'm just like, what an horrible way to live my life, of judging everyone and saying this is right and this is wrong. And I actually have better relationships with people now that in the past I might have not got on with, and I actually find them funny or whatever. And
you see the quirks.
I see the quirks and I like it, and I think, wow, as if you think that about this certain subject or whatever. And I just believe it's a better way to live.
Do you know, it's a
beautiful analogy, that is.
At Christmas time, see, I've not been into faith since childhood, and again, similar to yourself, losing a parent is something that makes you question everything, doesn't it? You know, and obviously you were really young when that happened to you, and I'm sorry to hear that as well. It's horrendous when you lose someone close to you. And I have kind of fallen out with faith and stuff like that, not followed it. But at Christmas time, I went to the church, I went to midnight mass, and it was the highlight of my Christmas because it was so peaceful, it was so calming, and it brought it right back to actually what Christmas is about. We forget what it's about, and society is not actually acknowledging what actually Christmas originally was. And then we're just like, wow, this is so chill in here. I'm loving this. And I lit a candle for my mum and my nan. And I walked out and I was like, wow, that was beautiful. And it just made me feel different. And it was the highlight of my Christmas. Told you that, didn't I?
Yeah, you did, yeah.
And it has made me think about faith a little bit differently, and I'm opening up a little bit more to it. And also, when you look at really highly successful people, a lot of them are
strong correlation, isn't there?
They're heavily into faith and a higher power and something that's bigger than them and their own needs. So,
like,
I was going to say, like, you know, a lot of people might start to switch off. You know, when people start talking about God or religion or Christianity and faith, but
I know I did.
Yeah, I did, mate. Honestly, it's only recently for me. I'm opening my mind to it all, because if you're someone that says that, you know, you're a spiritual person, well, that's just another way of saying that you believe in something bigger than yourself.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, and that's what someone else calls God. You know, it's all something bigger than what you are, and just understanding that a bit more and trying not to be judgmental towards someone who is religious. That's one thing that I've done in the past.
Yeah,
you know,
likewise.
So,
yeah.
You know, all the fucking kooks, these guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you know what they're talking about. But yeah, definitely more open to it, and you know.
And we go back to the rugby thing, right down to the smallest thing of rugby, and you say, it's believing in something bigger. So when I'm making tackles for you and your family, is bigger than me, and it gets me to go that extra mile. It gets me to push that extra bit further, and it's a powerful thing to believe. No matter what it is, if I don't believe in God and I don't believe in a higher power, I just believe in you and making a tackle for you. It's more than myself. It does get you to push. People have children. It's a bigger that it's not themselves. They're not self-centered anymore. They're surrendering to something else, something different, and that's the way I see it. Is giving myself a higher power that I like to surrender to and give up things to, and, you know, live my life that way, because I think that is the meaning of life for me at the minute.
To surrender yourself to something bigger.
Yeah.
Nice. Kruise has just emptied the bladders. We're back in.
I've just got to say that Al just made me aware of how long we've been talking. That's the fastest that's ever gone on a podcast ever for me.
Yeah.
Madness.
How long?
43 minutes.
Wow. How long's the episodes normally?
Normally around the 60-minute mark.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But I feel like we could probably do a 3-hour one here.
Yeah. We're going to have to jump back on at some point, aren't we?
Yeah, we will.
Just getting into some groove there.
Yeah.
I know. I just want to take it down a slightly different angle and talk about something else that we spoke about recently, is your journey with alcohol. And me and Dan, we're going to cover a specific episode on this, and I'm going to kind of open up about my journey with it. But again, that's the journey you have with that is completely your own. It's your own journey. And I've gone through that process of stopping drinking, and then I went through the process of shunting everyone else that was drinking.
Yeah.
What are you drinking for, you fucking dosser? You know, I were on this high ground, bang, because I feel amazing now. But then I've come to a place of, okay, that's my own journey. I've experienced some demons with it, and it doesn't serve me anymore. But it serves other people, and that's absolutely fine. And now I'm not judging. I'm just like, sound. What's the journey been like for you?
Nobody's asked me this question because nobody knows I'm not drinking, really. Teammates probably do, because we've been on a couple of nights out and I've not drank. It was a strange one, because there's never been something or a point where anybody around me has been like, you're struggling a bit here, you're drinking too much, or, you know, it were never that. But what we're speaking about now, about this, you know, higher powers, and what's, you know, asking the big questions, what we spoke about, the children ask the big questions, don't they? Why do we live? When I was drinking, it shut that part of my mind completely off. And it's since I've stopped drinking, these thoughts and the way I'm living are constantly going around in my mind now. And I tried for a little bit before that, and then you wake up hungover. So I've not drank since just after Christmas, but before that I was drinking and on and off, and I'd have a couple of thoughts like this, then I'd go out and have a drink, they'd go, and I'd be back into my normal state. And I feel like...
What does having a drink formally look like? You know, is it... Because as an athlete, it's not something that's obviously something that you can do regular, but would it be more obviously going out for a beer with boys and then it being a spike and a bit of a binge and then a hangover and then feeling rough for a few days and then again waiting for another big night out? What did it look like to you? Yeah, because I'm having a funny relationship with it myself at the minute.
Yeah, exactly like that. And covering up a lot of probably insecurity is a big word nowadays, where you're like, oh, you know, you're calling me insecure, and it's the only word I've got to describe it. It's not bad. Like, everybody's got insecurities around. Most of my insecurities of what drove me to be such a successful athlete, not feeling good enough in certain areas, or not feeling like I should have got the body that I think I should have, and that's made me then get a diet and stuff like that. So I don't mean it in a bad way, but it stopped all my insecurities in terms of being in a room full of 30 lads and saying what I want to say and having a laugh and having a joke, only come through having alcohol. And it started off like that, like, you know, we'd binge drink as athletes. We put our bodies on the line so much every day that...
It's crazy culture.
Yeah, so then it's like 100%, you've got to dive in. What we were speaking about before, you've got to go into it with 2 feet. You can't dip your toe into being a professional athlete because you get hurt. And then it's like we carry that on to when we're having a drink. We don't just have 1 or 2. We dive in with 2 feet. Do you know what I mean? We don't just dip our toe. And what there were 2 things I were realising. I wasn't doing things. If I were getting drunk and waking up in the morning and going, and somebody was saying, you did this, this, this and this, and me going, oh yeah, that's probably me, that's what I do, I'd have been fine with it. But I was doing things, saying things, acting in certain ways where I'd be seeing videos of myself or seeing somebody say, you said this last night or you did this, and I was like, wow, that's not me. That I don't want to be that person. I don't want to say them things. I don't want to act like that. So it was making me be someone that I didn't like, or somebody that, you know, and it wasn't catastrophic damage sometimes. Sometimes it was just saying things in certain areas that I wouldn't have normally said. And I thought, there's this object, or there's this liquid that I'm taking that's making me feel in the morning that I'm doing things I'm not proud of. And if it were a pill, alcohol, and somebody says, right, well, I've got this new pill on market, and you go, right, what does it do to me? Well, you're going to wake up with a banging headache. You're going to eat a load of crap after that. You're going to not remember what's gone on the night before. You're going to feel anxious the next morning because you don't know what you've said. You're going to do things that you wouldn't normally do. Do you want it? You go, no way. Just keep that out. You wouldn't ever take it once. You wouldn't have it once. But alcohol, it's like, oh, well, and I writ my goals down at the start of the year, January goals that we all do. And alcohol was pulling in the direct opposite direction than all my goals. There wasn't one goal I writ down: saving, learning something new, reading more, being more healthy. There was loads of different, seeing my family. There wasn't one goal that alcohol helped it, and that was the deciding factor for me. I thought, I'm sat here speaking about I want to do this with my life and I want to do that and I want to do this, but I'm doing something that's pulling in the complete opposite direction. I've not got the strength to stop it. Like you're saying, some people have got the strength to get up and do what needs to be done, or they don't act like that. They don't say things they don't mean. They still get the jobs done. So that's them. I wasn't. I'd wake up, I'd eat bad food, I'd be less productive. I wouldn't get out. I wouldn't think like this. I wouldn't live the quality of life I wanted to live. I'd say things to people I didn't mean. I wouldn't save money. Loads of money would be going on alcohol. I'd lose what mattered to me in life. And then I thought, why am I still doing it then? And so that were a big factor. And
power of the pen.
Power, yeah. I saw it, and I thought, if there were anything else, that I've probably stopped everything else that pulls in the opposite direction of my goals, and that was the biggest one. I thought, no, I can carry on doing it. And then the other one was, no matter what night out I went on, and I think it helped me going to Vegas and, going to the F1 and being in Las Vegas, being in America, having like private parties and stuff, doing all loads of different things with my missus, enjoying, doubling, doing. And I've done a lot of things involving alcohol. And it helped because what I did know for a fact, I couldn't tell you what was going to happen on that night out, but I knew for a fact I was going to wake up with no money, and I knew for a fact I was going to wake up regretting something. That is a fact. No matter what night out I've been on, I've woke up with that. Sometimes the regrets have been bigger than others, but I knew that for a fact I was going to wake up with no money, and that never changed. No matter if it were in Vegas, Halifax, New York, that stayed the same. The next morning, waking up with a couple of regrets and no money. So I just thought, I'm going to stop this and see what happens after that. Do you know what I mean? And to be honest, I've not even felt like having a drink. It's not been a battle for me at all. I've just stopped it, and I know why I've stopped it. The power of why. I know exactly why I'm not drinking anymore. I just have to have one conversation like this and remind myself. Oh, somebody asks you, why aren't you drinking? I remind myself about my goals, and I just think, I'm done with it. And the insecurities that we talk about, sometimes it gives us that little bit of escapism of what we're living in. We don't quite want to. I used to drink a lot because I'd have a good win on the weekend. I'd have played well. I'd drink for the fact I wanted to stay in that moment.
Stay in the high.
Yeah, stay in the high. Yeah. People sometimes when they're like, oh yeah, they associate drink with bad moments. Like, this is why I stopped drinking but the hardest time for me to drink is not in the bad moments when I feel down. It's in the good moments. It's staying in the high, winning something, or celebrating. Yeah. That's when I struggle, because you want to stay in that. But if you're celebrating constantly in life, like your life is a celebration. You're waking up and I'm celebrating, going into train. I'm waking. Wow, it's sunny today. Wow, I've got this podcast with these two wonderful men that have come into my life. Wow, my missus has just come back from London today. I'm going to spend my time with her. There's no escapism, and it's about alcohol does that, and I get why people do it in certain ways because they want to get out. But if you start to appreciate what you've got and start to live a life and get rid of the things you might not, that alcohol was stopping, you might have a job that on a weekend you're just like, I just want to drink to forget my job. Change the job. Don't drink. Change the job. And it makes us have action. Then there's some things in my life that when I was drinking, it might have, like staying in the high of rugby, and why was I on a downer then on a Monday if I didn't drink? Because the high just carries on. Then I'd say to you, I was in a downer because then I knew I had to do it all again. I wanted to stay in that winning phase, in that changing room, because we'd just won, because I'd just achieved, it's like I just climbed a mountain, I'd just achieved something. So then I could stay in that and not think about having to do it again next week until I've come round off being drunk. But it's like, no, it's a privilege to do it again. I can't wait to do it again next week. I can't wait to get back into training off back of a win, and everybody's laughing and joking, and then me train hard again and try play better than I played week before. That's the high. Don't escape that. Don't try and escape that. Do you know what I mean? Just enjoy it for what it is and find the next mountain. Let's walk and find the next mountain. How good was that? Let's find the next one. Whereas I used to try stay on top of that mountain and not move. And that's why I used to drink. And so I thought, no, what am I trying to escape from here? And if somebody can turn around to me and say, I'm not escaping anything, I love the way my life is, I love my job, I love everything about my life, 9 times out of 10 they don't drink. Then you see these sometimes these mega successful multimillionaires, they're probably living every single minute that they want to live. There's no
on their terms,
on their terms. And then what do I want to drink for? Sometimes I go on holiday with Grace, and I can go 3 days. This is when I was drinking. I could go 3 days not think about a drink because I'm living the life I want to live on holiday. It's like, why can't I try and transform that life on holiday, them 3 days when I won't think about drinking? Why can't I do it here?
To every day.
To every day, and then I don't need drink to escape. I'm thinking I don't want to drink here because I'm going to watch F1. I don't want to be drunk and not remember this. I want to remember this.
I think it's the association as well, isn't it? The association to the feelings. So like the highs, so it's like I'm feeling, I want to have a drink.
Yeah.
I'm having a laugh with my mate and we're listening to some tunes. What comes next?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's let's keep this going. And why can't we just enjoy and be in the moment, and just take it for what it is and stay a bit more neutral, but consistent over time. Everyone talks about consistency, don't they?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's a big thing, what you've mentioned there, Dan, that I don't know if I spoke to you about it last time we had a coffee, but staying more neutral. Is it Newton's theory where, you know, the 4 balls where you pick one up and it... Yes. And the way I see it is like that. So if positives over here and negatives over here, if you pick that one up that far, when it hits there, the negatives are going to be that far. Whereas if you can just pull it a little bit either side and it just clicks, you end up staying in this neutral where the downs aren't so bad. It's like, oh, I'll get over it. It's, something's happened. I've lost a bit of money. I've crashed my car or whatever. It's all right. I'm going home to my missus. I'm going home to my lovely house. And there's still so much to be happy about. And when you have a bit of success, you're like, wow, how good's this? But your life's good anyway. So it's just like, this is a little bit of success. My balls clicked along this way a little bit, and I'm just going to get back to normal life. Whereas if you ride the highs really high, it's a fact that you're going to feel the lows just as bad. Do you know what I mean? So it is about staying neutral, and I think not drinking, it gives you're living in that state of mind all the time. So you're more neutral. You're not up here and down there and up. And I think I didn't like that feeling. That's the feeling I don't like, is being really up and really down. Because then even you start living like that, and even in the highs, then you start worrying because you're like, I'm so high here, I'm going to have a massive crash. I know it's coming. You can't even enjoy your highs. You get to a point you can't even enjoy your highs anymore because you're like, I know that I'm going to feel awful tomorrow because this is going to be gone. It's like, have a baseline. Have your baseline, and then just ride the waves, little bits here and there.
Yeah, it's a great message, and that's one thing that I've really picked up on with what you're offering on your social media as well. Is you're showing the life of a professional athlete. And by the way, for any young aspiring rugby league player in particular, follow Kruise, because it's showing what you need to do, and there's always a message. So it's like you're serving others within that message, and again, like that's bang on, that message and that reinforcement of what you're about, what makes you tick, and it's really nice. It's something that you're not a selfish person. You can see that from what you're doing and what you're producing day in, day out, So I just wanted to acknowledge that.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And how are you dealing with the whole social media realm then, Kruise? Because that can fall into quite a tricky dance really as well, can't it?
Yeah, well, we started off this podcast by being really honest, and I love it. The more honest I can be around people, the more time I like to spend with them. And I like being honest. It makes me feel good. Being honest and being unapologetically myself makes me feel really good. And you asked me that question, and the honest opinion is, from the outset, very scared, in a culture in rugby league where there's a judgment of some right, some wrong, some in the fact of, is he taking his eye off the ball? He's going into this social media type thing. He's videoing things when we're training. We're here to win something. So is he getting too big for his boots? Is he being too cocky? So that were everything I had to deal with.
Were they your thoughts, or were that feedback?
No, that's my thoughts of what other people might think.
Yeah.
So there's that. Then there's the opening your life up to public. Everyone wants the feedback of the good feedback, and like you've just said, how nice that feels. But they don't want the bad feedback. But if you open it up, you open it up. You can't choose. You've opened the door. So whoever walks through it. You can't just, keep it open for the people that are nice people and then close it for the people that are. I accept it all. And the social media is that vulnerability around, opening the door to every comment and, reading every comment and taking every comment on board. And that were a thing I had to deal with as well. Of the way I try and think about it is, who am I to my core? Who am I happy with? Who am I looking at in the mirror with? Because then what that made me do is, it were a phase I had to go through of, I shouldn't, if you've ultimately cracked it, I shouldn't hang off anybody's words. Like the nice words you say, they're nice, and you should be able to say, oh, that's nice. The bad words you say, you should be able to say, that's not bad, that's not great. But when I walk out that door, it shouldn't then make it into a thing of, right, you said it were bad what I've done, so now I feel horrendous walking out of that door. Or you said it were good what I've done, so now I feel brilliant and I'm skipping out of that door. I know to my core what I am, why I'm doing it. I'm trying to share a message. I feel like I've got some value to add to other people and other people's life. These things that I feel like I think and do now that I wish I'd have known 10 years ago. So I wish somebody was speaking that I could listen to on that. So that's why I'm doing it. And no matter what anybody says, it shouldn't alter the way I am. It should be, that's nice or that's not nice, and that's it. And I struggled with that. I used to, and it were actually the nice comments that dragged me back into that and got me attached to that social media again. It wasn't the bad comments. It were like the bad ones I could think. I could be like, yeah, that's bad. But then the nice ones I'd be, wow, that's made me feel good. And then it's like you're hanging on to it. Then you're like, where's the next one coming? And and then you're asking people then, what did you think of that last post? Or did that come across right? Or was that good? Or it's my message. I'm saying it. You if you don't understand it or you don't think it's right, it's fine. It's my message. I'm a tree over here. You just walk through the forest. If you don't want to see this tree, just walk through the forest. And the way, I don't know, whoever's made the world, God or whatever you believe, it's brilliant and fair, because when I was judgmental of other people doing things and the way I would think, oh, what's he doing that for? When I was doing my social media, I felt that same judgment back. I'm like almost a mirror of myself. Yeah. Whereas when I started being...
people won't put themselves out there.
It is, and as I started being less judgmental of people and less let him do what he wants to do if he wants to do that. Don't judge him. I then started feeling less judged, because I wasn't in that mindset of what's he thinking. I won't bother, because I wasn't thinking like that. So then it opened me up to go and do things I want to do. Whereas it's brilliant and it's beautiful, because if you're going to be a judgmental person and you're not going to like what people are going to say, then be careful that you're going to be a judgmental person. You're not going to... Sorry, you're a judgmental person and you're not... you're going to judge people on what they say and what they do all the time, then expect that same treatment back to yourself. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if you're not and you're a nice person, you let people get on with what they do, you feel like it opens you up to get on with what you want to do and go and be yourself. Do you know what I mean? So to answer your question, it was daunting at the start. It's still now scary. There's some things that I want to push on and do more things, and I'm a little bit scared on how that's going to be perceived and get it right.
By who?
Coaches, players, friends. That's important. They're the people that I'm nervous about, really. And I don't know but everyone goes through that. That's why I've got so much respect for people who have done social media and done well. I never give them the respect they deserve, really, because everyone's goes through that in every walk of life, not just social media. I probably go on a field just because I'm used to it now. But if you were to step onto a field, it probably, the first initial bit is how am I going to be able to do it? But then it's controlling what people think about what you're doing then. It's like, all right, I've got through the game and you're not happy with that anymore. Like, that's when I first started. I thought, all right, I've survived. Brilliant. Then you get to a point of, did you think I played well? What did you think? It's like, no, you just be happy. You've gone out there, you've played, and you've done, you know what I mean? And then that's you start getting in that tied in that web of, and then you hang off their thoughts of, yeah, you played well today. And it's like, yes, I'd go home and I'd be like, I'm brilliant today. Somebody's told me I've played well. In my core, if you say I've played well, and I know in my core, Dan missed the tackle and I didn't cover it, and I could have. I know I could have, and I didn't, because I couldn't be bothered. I'd be like, no, I hadn't played well. And vice versa, if you were like, you didn't do out today, you didn't make any breaks. I covered Dan about 10 times. He missed about 10 tackles, and I covered him, and sounds I know that. Right. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I know that. Then I'm happy with that as well.
I think what you've just said there is the opinion of yourself is the most important thing. And I think we spoke about, we had Grace Ramsden on this podcast, who's, she's got massive on social media now. And we were like asking her, how do you deal with these negative comments? And what she expressed was, she knows that what she shares now is truly herself and her personality. And then it's, again, surrendering to the reality that some people are not going to like that. And then that becomes actually okay to let that in then. I think if you're pretending to be someone that you're not, and then you're being judged on that person, that's when you have the internal battles.
I couldn't agree more. And it's about being able to be wrong as well, letting yourself be wrong. No one's perfect, but I think we try and tread this line of being perfect in work. You know, sometimes you'll say something in a team meeting or whatever, and you'll think, oh, should I say it? Should I not? And it's like, well, that's what I believe. So should I come out with it or not? Well, what's he going to say, and what are they going to think? And it's like, not everyone in that room's going to like what I'm going to say. But this is how I think. And if everyone acted like that, we'd end up finding
a solution.
You'd find your solution. You'd find your group of people. Like you're saying, these friends that you have when you're younger that you think you're going to be friends with for life. But then they'll say a couple of things that you're like, oh, that shocked me. I didn't expect you to do that. And then they do a couple of things that you're like, wow, I don't like the look of that. Or you do a couple of things that they don't like the look of. Then you end up, but I'd rather be in a group that I'm unapologetically myself and accepts me for who I am, and the people who are watching my content or the people who are buying into my message because that's who I am to my core. It's not I wake up and I've got to put a mask on, or I've got to put a certain type of clothes on, I've got to do a certain thing in front of the camera, then I'm not like that off it. I want people to buy into my message, and the people that don't, that's fine. That's fine. But then I found my group, I found my followers who listen to my stuff, I found the group of friends that I am myself. And being accepted and fitting in is something that we try and do a lot of, but it's like if you're gonna find your group anyway. You're gonna find your certain type of people. Just be yourself.
Going back to the ocean, it's gonna find its way, innit? It's
gonna find its way. You can either not be yourself, and you'll end up sitting in a load of rooms thinking, I'm just constantly fighting a battle here because I want to say things, I want to do things, but it's not going to be perceived right in this group. And I'm going to speak, they might be smokers, or they might be drinkers, or they might do things that I don't agree with, and I just want to say I don't want to drink, or I don't want to smoke. And well, that's the thing when you're growing up, innit? You're trying to find your group, and that's why it's so important who you spend time with, because you want to be part. That we're beings that want to be part of something. Everybody wants to be part of something else, something bigger, a bigger community. Nobody wants to be on their own, and that's why vulnerability is sometimes. We spoke about the inner child thing. That's why we recluse sometimes, because we think if I show my vulnerability, or I come into work and say, no, I am struggling a little bit, or I don't feel quite myself, or I say, I love you, I really like being. It might be the thing that gets me out of this group. They might think, can't deal with him, he's too emotional, or he's too this. But if you just carry on being that person, you'll end up being with people who are emotional, who do want to tap into that. And that's a beautiful thing then, because everyone should find their group and their people that surround them. Do you know what I mean? Instead of being something that you're not, and being in a group that you're constantly fighting a battle that's not you.
Yeah. And I think when you find yourself in that group that you're not particularly meant to be in, that's when you do lean on vices, alcohol. I'm relating to my own journey. I were in a group of people, not that they're bad people at all big drinkers, and I used to drink because I was trying to fit into that group, but it were never me.
You try to escape them feelings that you keep asking yourself, them questions. You try to shut it off. And it's like, it's funny, isn't it? Because I saw something on Buddhas, or they were on about mushrooms, and this guy was so enlightened that one of his students gave him some mushrooms to try, and he gave him, I don't know, a large dose of mushrooms, and the teacher's come back to the student and he said, it didn't do out to me. And the student was like, what? I'll give you like loads of mushrooms there. Have you took them all? Have you done it right? He says, yeah. Didn't do anything to me. And they say that mushrooms make you feel in a certain way and think a certain way and be more enlightened and be on this, different path. And they boiled it down to the Buddha or the teacher were already there. He were already there. So it didn't do anything. It didn't escape him from it. It didn't bring these, he didn't feel like, I'd got over that anxiety now, or he'd actually got to himself to a position in life where every anxiety he ever felt, he questioned it, and he asked the question of, why do I feel like? He were open about it, then he got rid of it. And he were already on this path of being nice and being truly himself. There were no thoughts in his head that was conflicting with who he were. And he was just where he needed to be, and it didn't do anything to him. And I'm like, wow, that's thought-provoking, because I think we all want to be somebody in one aspect, but we stop them feelings from either, if it's society, if it's we said we shouldn't do that now, or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean?
Have you seen the painting Polynor?
No.
That taught me a lot. And there's no words, it's just a picture. And I was like, that is powerful. That is a very, very powerful picture.
Paint it for us.
Check it out.
Polynor.
So it's basically a female dressed up in a very attractive outfit with a very attractive face as a mask, but like the devil inside. And I'm not relating this to females, I'm just talking about like
human.
Yeah, we wear masks in society, and like strip it back to who are you? Do you know what I mean? And be real. And I just looked at that. I couldn't stop looking at it.
Yeah,
I was like, there's a lot of tangling questions in that image there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So check it out.
No, I will. I think I used when I was growing up, I used to think people used to say be yourself, and I used to think, what they on about? And I didn't see the courage and the bravery that it takes to be yourself, even if you're not a nice person, or if you're you though, and you know what you're getting out of somebody, and they are them. No matter what setting you put them in, they are them. Yeah.
Even I prefer that. You know where you stand. You know,
yeah, exactly. And you there's a sense of respect there for them, because they're like, you know how hard it is yourself to be yourself. You know how hard it is to, in every situation, no matter what social setting you are, this is me, this is what I'm doing, no matter what. It's a very, very hard thing to do, and I admire people for it now, and it's a battle that I'm constant, and I think doing hard things and taking yourself out of your comfort zone, it enhances that feeling, and once you get over one, it almost gives you evidence of, I can do it, and then you go and take on a different mountain and you climb that, and you're like, wow, and then you get that buzz around it. And it's a battle every day of sometimes even little things daily that I might have a conversation with somebody and I might laugh at something that I didn't find funny, and I'm like, why did I laugh? It's because I felt uncomfortable not laughing, or I felt like I had to get involved in that conversation because what they were saying I didn't agree with, but they were speaking to me, and instead of just going and keeping quiet or saying no, I've put that mask on that we're talking about to get involved, because it were too awkward to be myself. It were too awkward to not find that funny, or it were too awkward to say I'm not. No, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. And this is how I feel. This is how you feel. It's sometimes, and say if there's 6 or 7 people around a table, or you're in a changing room full of lads and they've all got a view, and then to stand on your own and say, no, I don't agree with that one. Actually, it's brave, very brave. And now when I see people do it, my admiration for them goes through the roof, and it's something that I'm trying to be myself, is honest to myself constantly, and speak away and do things away that even if I get it wrong, be happy to get it wrong in the eyes of somebody else. 10 people say you shouldn't have done that, but no, that's how I felt though. That's what I wanted to do. That is me, and that's what you're going to get out of me all the time. And it's a constant battle that I'm constantly battling with all the time.
Me too.
I think that's the thing about being in the public eye as well, isn't it? You know, on your profile, being at a certain level, and it's how you want to be perceived and things like that, and you don't want to be seen to be upsetting people, or, you know, and those sorts of things. There's a responsibility in there, but as long as your intentions are pure, and you know that, you can't go wrong really, can you? You know? Moving on to, you know, like the back end of your career, and what do you think it looks like in terms of after you've finished, you know, being a professional athlete? Have you thought that far, or are you just still in the thick of, you know, the here and now?
Yeah, it's a constant thought that I have. of what's going to happen, there's part of me, there's half of me that's like, everything we've spoke about, surrender to what's going to happen. Nobody knows. Let's just live today. Let me do the podcast. And then there's obviously the other half of me that wants the control over what's going to happen. I want to know where I'm getting paid from. I want to know how my family's going to look in the next...
Perfect plan.
The plan, yeah. So I'm flicking between the two. I'm doing a lot of speaking at the minute for businesses. Try to get my message across. That could be an avenue I go down. I like doing the media side of it. Sky Sports, BBC, doing the commentary on the games. That's another role that I wouldn't mind going down or exploring it. But other than them two things, I've still got a big job in terms of rugby, what I'm trying to do. That takes up a lot of my time and effort, and I am a big believer of if you chase two rabbits, you catch none. So you need to chase one and get that right and catch that, then move on to the next one, and give everything to rugby league at the minute, what I'm doing. But I believe that we're in a cells with storytellers, and we need to tell each other stories and sit down and speak. And if that's adding value to other people, that can then add value to myself, and I can make a living out of doing that. I think it'd be a good way to live my life.
I think you're made for that, brother. I just want to remind you of a little conversation we had on phone, and it was just a general one, checking in. How's it going, Kruise lad? And you said to me, I feel like a kid on Christmas Eve. And I said, Kruise, I feel exactly the same way, and I don't know what it's about.
I tell you what, I talk some rubbish, me, that when
but I felt that. No, I felt the exact same way. You just put it into words, and I was like, "Fucking hell, I'm not the only insane one here."
Yeah, yeah.
Like something big is around the corner. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's going to be a good thing. Well, I think it's going to be a good thing. But the truth is, you don't know.
It feels good.
It feels good in the moment.
Yeah, I genuinely do feel that way in terms of at Christmas. When you're a kid, you know that something big's happening the next day, but you don't know whether your presents are going to be good presents, rubbish presents. Are they going to be the presents that you asked for? You've told a couple of people what you want, but are you going to get that? And then if you don't get the presents that you asked for, are they going to be good anyway? Are they going to be the presents you needed to get because you know you couldn't see it?
Yeah.
And that's how I feel at the minute. I don't know what it is, but I just feel like something bubbling away, and that's how I wake up every morning, like something big's coming. Or it might be that I'm living in something big right now, what I'm doing every day, the people I'm meeting, the conversations I'm having, the questions I'm asking myself, the thoughts that are coming into my head. That might be that what I'm feeling, and something will click where, you know, my next path and my next bit of life happens from, or, you know, and that's the best way I could have described it to you on phone, really.
Yeah. I heard someone talking about it actually, and now I've just...
Isn't that a nice way to be, though?
Yeah. It's like the anticipation of the thing is more enjoyable than the thing.
100% it is, yeah.
Building up to a big game, the anticipation, the feelings you have is actually a better feeling than the actual thing when you're in the moment. So maybe that's what it is. It's the anticipation of the everyday, waiting for that next sort of opportunity to arise.
Yeah, it's mad that you say that, because to go off on that, I believe majority of life is mental, and we suffer more in his imagination than we ever do in real life. And what I mean by that is, unless somebody dies or something, what you're worrying about 9 times out of 10 doesn't happen, or when it does happen, the worrying, it never was as bad as what you think it were going to be. And everything is the way you see it, and the imagination of it, and what you're going through at the time, actually doing the thing. That's why people have such big crashes, because what they painted it to be in their head, and what the moment that they saw in their head of winning a grand final, or winning a heavyweight championship, or a title, or whatever it is, the job promotion, they get there and it's like, it wasn't what I thought it were going to be, good and bad. And it's a beautiful thing. People can see that as a negative, but it's not, because it works both ways. What you think's, and I would try to explain this to Grace the other day. And she said, can you explain, like, most of what we do is mental and the world is mental? Because I was speaking to her about it, and I says, yeah. I says, okay. So there were a green car in front of us. I says, you see that green car there? I said, that could be the best car in the world that you've ever seen, or it could be the worst car in the world that you've ever seen, but that green car is still the green car. And she said, what do you mean by that? And I says, well, if you have never seen a car before, you've come from a country that have never had cars, and then I put that green car in front of you, you will turn around to me and go, that is the nicest object I've ever seen, and you can get in it, it takes you from A to B, it travels 40 mile an hour, I don't have to walk, and you're like, wow, I could have come from millions and millions of pounds, I've had cars and jets and private limos and all this lot, and I see that car and it's rubbish to me, but the car is still the car, so I'm living, it's all mental, and it's in my head of what I'm thinking it's going to be, do you know what I mean? And that's majority of things. It's the way you've been brought up. It was funny because my mate did 6 marathons in 3 days, and you speak about getting a new couch, and this is the same thing about, if I'd have said to him before he did the marathons, do you like that couch? He was like, oh, it's old, I need a new one, it's crap and all this lot. He did the 6 marathons in 3 days, and after the second day I watched him sit down on his couch, and it was like nicest couch he'd ever sat on, and I thought, that is perception, and that is where your mind is at, and that's why I try and do things. I believe doing tough things and hard things in your life is the best thing to do, because it puts that perspective back into,
gratitude.
That gratitude back for you, and it brings you back to your baseline of, it's like food. I've done it recently. You get to a point where you're eating, you're going out for nice meals, you're doing things, and you're thinking, everything just doesn't taste that great at the minute, and right, I'm going to fast for 3 days. That's what I'm going to do. And people are like, why are you fasting? And sometimes Grace might say, why are you eating? Why are you not eating and stuff? And sometimes it's not dietary. It's not that, and it's about putting life back into perspective. And then you have a piece of chicken after them 3 days that's got a little bit of salt on. It's the nicest bit of chicken you've ever tasted, and it's all mental. And when he sat down on that couch, and how do we carry on doing that through his lives? That's what I'm saying. Is it, sometimes you're getting into your car and you're like, I need a new car, this is rubbish. It's like, right, okay, I'm not going to use my car for a week, I'm going to walk everywhere. I remember when we travel around America, me and Grace, we walked everywhere, and then when I got home, I got back in my car, be able to go where I want without getting taxis and without walking. Oh my God, it's nice to be back in my car.
Yeah.
And it's about, how do we find that where it brings us back to us baseline through life, that keep bringing yourself back to baseline. And I think that's why doing hard things every so often, that everybody else around you is like, what are you doing that for? And might not understand it. Or even if it's going on a diet, you don't have to cut the calories, or you don't have to fast to lose weight. It's not about losing the weight. It's not about not eating. It's about that discipline of not getting everything you want to get straight away.
I've got a client right now who's doing quite an intense calorie deficit, and he doesn't need to do it for health reasons. Like, he doesn't need to go where he's going, but he's going there because he wants to get to a place where he's lean all year round, and he doesn't have to play this yo-yo game of being on it and off it. So that's one reason. But the other reason is he's so dialed in, and he's so intentional about what he's doing every day, and he's so happy doing it, and he's talking about this meal that he's going to have and things like that, and he's so looking forward to sitting there. And I'm feeling that emotion for him. I've been there, I've done things like that, and it's like that is the beautiful thing, isn't it? It's abstaining and earning it and earn that seat, 100%. The cheesecake or whatever it is. Don't just have it on tap because you don't appreciate it then.
They say the road to hell feels like heaven, and the road to heaven feels like hell.
Yeah.
And it's true, because if you just have everything you want to have, and you get everything you want to get all the time, and you never discipline, that's faith as well, like the 10 Commandments. There's a form of structure, there's a form of you know, you shouldn't eat certain things, and there's a form of fasting at certain points, and I think it puts us in that state of appreciating what's around instead of just being able to grab everything that we want all the time. And that's where we're at in it as a culture, which it's good, because I wouldn't like to have to go for firewood, and like I've got heaters and I like that, but every now and again we need to appreciate and realise what we've got, you know what I mean, and maybe go 3 days without having heating on, and then you know you're not so put heating on, or you start to appreciate life. And I think we've got to a stage now in life where everything's so grabbable, everything's on a click. You don't even have to go get your own food, you don't even have to clean your own windows, everything is just a click of a button.
Nothing's earned.
It takes away that earning, it takes away that. And how do we get that back? And I'm not saying that I don't do it and I don't enjoy, you know, getting a takeaway, or it's just enjoy it then. Don't get to a point where you're getting takeaways and you start getting fed up of not getting takeaways. You start getting fed up of people cleaning you out. You start getting fed up of people coming and making you a nice meal because that's all you've ever had. You should appreciate them things. Yeah. This technology and being able to flick a light on and not have to, you know, being able to flick it, you know, you should appreciate it. And when I ever find myself, when I get to a point where I'm not appreciating these things anymore, I go and do something hard, or I force myself into a situation that's uncomfortable and I don't like, and it seems to bring me back to my baseline.
Yeah, that's a really beautiful way to look at it, man. Yes. Even like unintentionally, you know, if you miss a meal and then that next meal, it feels so much nicer. Just little things like that. But then you're saying intentionally, let's put things in place in his life to delay things a bit more.
Yeah.
Because it feels amazing, doesn't it?
It does. And it's
simplest of things. Really nice, mate, that one. If I don't take out else, that's the main thing.
That's it. There's lots of messages in that one.
Lots to take from this one.
Lots.
I feel, go on, Dan.
No, I just want to say it's been really refreshing, and I think this podcast is probably one of the longest ones we've done, and it's probably gone the quickest, I'd say, as well.
Not even scratched surface.
No, really. Honestly, I could go all day. But yeah, thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for being open and honest, and keep doing what you're doing.
Stay open, stay honest, stay vulnerable, stay that inner child.
Yeah,
be that inner child. Smart. It's the quickest way to happiness and living a good life. It's just be you.
Just be you. I don't think this is the end for us, mate.
Yeah.
I think we've got many more interactions to come.
100%.
Thank you for sharing, mate, and very refreshing to see you living your true self, mate, in a busy world, in the sporting world where there's a lot of judgment, you know, especially rugby league. Thank you for being our first ever client for the sauna.
No, and
you'll always be that one for us, mate, as well.
Yeah,
so we're massively full of gratitude, mate, for you. You know, that's building nicely for us now, and we speak to a lot of people and about the saunas, and they'll just say, "Oh, have you seen that one that Kruise Leeming's got?" Like, yeah, that's one of ours.
yeah. No,
so
thanks.
You know, thank you for being part of our journey, mate.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's been refreshing, and the more we can do, let me know when the next one, and we'll get one done. But thank you.
Yeah, top man. Thanks, bro.
Thank you.
Bosh. Yes, sir.